Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this August 17th, 2022 meeting of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to order. Councilor Jones is excused from tonight's meeting, and as well as CAO Lawrence Royale. All other members are present this evening via video conference. So welcome, everyone. We are on item number 2, moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Quesada.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. We are now on approval of the minutes. I make a motion to approve the June 29th, 2022 minutes. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner O'Malley. Ms. Salas, will you please call the roll?
Councilor Feeble-Corn,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Malley,
Yes.
Chair Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti, Commissioner Piscotti, Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
That passes unanimous.
Thank you. Now we are on proclamations and awards. Under A, quarterly employee recognition awards. We have several, so I'll read them out. I don't know if anyone's watching via video conference, but just want to congratulate you all for going above and beyond the call of duty. So I will start with the list. We have Miss Jessica Ortiz, Monique Ness, Jonathan Herrera, who will be receiving $75 each. Joshua Brown, Anthony Gabaldon, Arlo Gonzalez Sr., $250 each. Then we have Martin Sanchez, Daniel Cedillo, Ernest Unale, Daryl Pacheco, Carlos Sena, Stephen Gonzalez, Francis Small, Philip Trujillo, Gilbert Marin, Rudolph Madrid, and Adrian Anaya, $75 each. Barney Baca, $150 plus 8 hours. Pal Hardin, Christopher Gustafin, and Edwin Bergern, 150. Charles Trujillo and Kelsey Bicknell, 300 each, plus 800, 8 hours each. Wow. And then Jude Goulet, 150. Anthony, $75. Ron Montano, Damian Luna, and Cody Pickard, 150 each. Joshua Towery, 75 plus 8 hours. Rudy Apodaca, Chris Garcia, Isidro Padilla, Jorge Trujillo, all 150. And Michael Richardson, 200. And then finally, Alan Barney, $75. So again, thank you on behalf of the Water Utility Board of Directors, the staff. Thanks for, going above and beyond again. So with that, we will go on to public comment. And Ms. Salas, do we have anyone signed up to speak this evening?
Yes, we have one.
Will you please call the speaker, and you will have 3 minutes to speak with a warning at 2.5 minutes. Elaine, you're muted. You're muted. You're still muted. You're not. You're muted.
Okay, I'm saying I'm not muted.
You are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we
Yep.
can hear you.
Yay! So I just wanted to say thank you for allowing both oral and visual input from the public, usually me, as you know. So as a retired chemist and attorney and water planner, I have tried to provide for several years information and insights to the utility staff, TCAC, and board members. And I noticed that there's a TCAC vacancy, and I hope that that will be filled soon. So I've submitted written comments to flesh out these remarks, the point of which is that we must do a lot more regarding conservation and climate change, both as a utility and as a region. Today's news that the Colorado River users have been asked to cut out 15% of their uses applies to us because we also get Colorado River water. Not to mention that the Rio Grande is already stretched so far. It went dry in July for the first time in 4 decades. Pumping groundwater has increased during these drought years. For the ABCWA, the groundwater pumping for the first 7 months of this year and for the period of 2020 through 2022 has been higher than that for 2014 through 2019. That has resulted in higher depletions in the river flows at the same time as you have river flows already being less because of climate change. We are approaching the third rail of the Rio Grande Compact, which happens when we have a debit of more than 200,000 acre feet and which would lead to catastrophic consequences. At the end of last year, the debit was 127,000 acre feet. At the end of July, the state engineer reported that it was 167,000, 40,000 more than at the end of last year. We cannot go to 200,000. Current water demands exceed the legally available water supply in the Middle Rio Grande. We have to go on a diet. And so the current idea of conservation, where we're going to get to 110 gallons per capita per day by 2037, requires already 1 gallon per capita per day unit to be reduced from here until 2037 just to make the conservation program. That doesn't necessarily reduce enough out of our diet. I would say that we have to work as a region. The MERCOG has looked into this one water idea, and we'll be talking about it again at their next meeting. I think it has some merit. There's also the basin study, which is really going to start getting underway, which will develop strategies to cope with climate changes. And I would urge that the utility rejoin that. We can't add more demands. We can't add more depletions. We got to go on a diet. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Herbert. Ms. Salas, do we have anyone else?
No, thank you.
Madam
So
Chair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I hope that, and then maybe we have someone other than, I don't know if the director is on, because I can only see a couple of people on the screen, but a response to Ms. Hubbard, and we're just getting one bad report after another, news reports, and then what's happened, as I said, to reduce consumption and we don't have to have a long explanation, but I think it would be important for the public to know what we're going to, what do we have a big concern, and if so, how are we going to address it? Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Commissioner. Thank you,
O'Malley.
Commissioner O'Malley. Mr. Sanchez, before you start, I think she makes a tremendous valid point, as does Ms. Hebert. I really always appreciate the public comment. I think that, the water utility and our staff and the employees there at the Water Authority are doing a bunch of great work. So if you could, give your comments, but maybe at a subsequent meeting, we could actually have a presentation about everything we're doing and striving to do in terms of water conservation, preservation, and kind of some of the re-injection projects that you have as well. So, Mr. Sanchez.
Madam Chair, actually, that was going to be my suggestion, that in September we do a comprehensive update about what's going on with Colorado, the drought situation, our conservation, and planned projects. And I think that would give you a better, fuller picture of what's going on, because that takes a little bit of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Madam
O'Malley,
Chair.
that's sufficient? Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because I do agree, we're always hearing these presentations that the water utility is doing, but maybe if we just do some kind of comprehensive public announcement about all the good work and what we're striving to do, we can, make sure the public knows. So anyway, with that, we will move on to announcements and communication. Our next scheduled meeting will be September 21st, 2022 at 5 p.m. via video conference. For some reason, I can't say that today. And then Technical Customer Advisory Committee vacancy. There's a vacancy on the Technical Customer Advisory Committee. If there are board members have any nominations, please direct them on to the online application on the Water Authority's website at www.abcwua.org. And then with that, we'll move on to introduction of legislation. There is none this evening. So we are on to the consent agenda. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have on there 3 items. One of them is R2222, authorizing the removal of certain uncollectible debt from the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority accounts receivable records FY 2018 and prior. And then B, which is C2232, approval of 2 vendors for tire and tire services. And then finally C, which is C2233, approval of fiscal year 2022 annual inventory certification. So I'd make there's a motion and a second by Commissioner O'Malley. Ms. Salas, will you please call the roll unless there's any questions? No. Would you please call the roll?
Counselor Feeblecord,
Yes.
Counselor Feeblecord,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Malley,
Yes.
Chair Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti, Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salas. So now we're on to the consent agenda. On to approvals. We have A, R2223, approval of the fiscal 2022 unaudited 4th quarter financial report year ending June 30th, 2022. And we have Mr. Stan Alred.
I'll go through this quick. I know this is dry information, so I'll try to make it quick and painless. Year-to-date operating revenues has been consistent with the last 3 fiscal years. The peak in FY18 is the last time we had a rate increase. It was also a very high consumption year. Consumption levels have dropped off dramatically since then. And so we're staying pretty consistent with revenue. And again, we'll see a spike in that as we had a rate increase for this fiscal year 23 of 5%. Next slide, please. Operating expenses sustained pretty flat. The big green line on the top of each fiscal year is basically what we transfer to debt service and for capital. There's always a slight increase every year for capital as we increase what we pay for cash for capital. And the decrease has been, we are beginning to start paying off our debt service, and you will see a bigger shift in that in the next 3 years as we pay off the San Juan Chama debt for building the drinking water plant. Next slide. Operating expenses, this is just, we just take our operating expenses and flush it out over a year. And again, we've been pretty consistent under what budget, and in June has been a little bit higher. In July, we tend to use a lot more chemicals and power in the high water months during those months. Next slide, please. Days cash on hand. We're at about 460 days cash on hand. Again, this is pre-audit. There will be a debt service payment that went out July 1st, which will draw that balance down to some degree. But we're still, based on policy, staying about 420 days plus based on the policy of the board. Next slide, please. Year-to-date capital expenses, we had a big push in FY20 and FY21. Well, a lot of our capital, we're not really reducing what we spend for capital. We just didn't spend as much as what we wanted to in FY19-18. Spent what we didn't spend in those fiscal years in 20 and 21, and now we're back to normal in FY22 with what the board has appropriated for us to spend. Next slide. Our debt coverage ratio, so we're still at about 1.6, 1.65. Our ratio needs to be about 1.33. So from a debt coverage perspective, we are still sitting pretty good. With the rate increase, we'll probably see an increase in our coverage levels, which is good based on our covenants with our bond ordinance. And also as debt service decreases, we will see a shift upwards in this ratio as well. Next slide, please. Water use production, pretty consistent with prior years. There's a spike in May on this chart. I just want to touch on that real quick. We knew we were going to turn off the water treatment plant. So we took as much water as we could from the water plant, from the river, and stored it in our aquifer, in our reservoirs. So we overfilled the reservoirs so we would have a supply of water from the river that we wouldn't have to use by pumping from the aquifer. So that is a spike in May. That was just taking extra river water when we could, storing it in our reservoirs, and then using that in June to offset our depletions from the aquifer. Next slide. Water consumption. So water consumption stays fairly consistent. June was a very dry month as far as, not as much precipitation. It was a little bit higher. Again, we have been well below the FY18 levels, and we're maintaining what we have in the last several years. Next slide. And precipitation, this is a real quick picture of, again, the rain started picking up towards the end of June, but at the end of May and beginning of June, it was dry and consumption levels went up a little bit. But we have used a lot less water than we have in the past. And we continue to reduce. The public continues to do its part in its reduction in water usage. And that concludes my presentation, and I stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? Commissioner O'Malley?
Oh, sorry. Would you show that graph again about the use, and it had the graph of the different years?
Go back one. One
Okay.
more?
That's it. Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Or the one before this one.
let's see. Yes, thank you.
So this is billed consumption. This is what we actually bill. It's
Okay.
consumption our customers use, and so this is based off of what we've actually charged customers, the consumption levels we charge customers for each year. The slide before that was what we actually produce from the ground or from the river.
Okay. And then if you wouldn't just keep going with the slides then.
So this one will tell you what we pull from the wells and from the red lines from the surface water plant, and the blue is precipitation. And the little black line is non-potable water, so that would be water that we probably pull off from Northside reuse on the upper end. And we have turned on and started, we haven't used it yet, but we're starting to make sure that we can if we need to. The aquifer storage that we have here at the surface water plant. So.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
next one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. So with that, if there are no additional questions, I would, did I make the motion already, Ms. Salas? I apologize. I'd make it a motion for approval of R2223.
Second.
Motion is second by Commissioner O'Malley. Ms. Salas, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Feeblecorn,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Malley,
Yes.
Chair Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes, and I'd also like to say for that last vote for the consent agenda, I was over in the attendee side, but my vote was a yes. So if you could just make a note of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, we will.
Yes, thank you. We'll record it. Thank you. Commissioner Quesada,
Aye.
that passed unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We are now on C 2234, approval of the 2022 collective bargaining agreement between Local 3022 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees and the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. Mr. Sanchez.
Madam Chair, members of the authority, this contract is identical to the two previous contracts you've approved. It's a 5% increase for fiscal year 23 and a $1,000 lump sum payment. Following year would be 2% and a $750 lump sum payment. And the third and final year would be a 2% and a $500 lump sum payment. It's a 3-year agreement, Local 3022, which is the management union. I'd stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, I move approval.
So there's a motion and a second for approval of R 2234. So are there any other questions? I'd like to say just congratulations on working out these contracts and operating with good faith with our employees. I think it's very encouraging, especially, 5% is obviously we always want to strive for more, but hearing from some of the employees, they were really pleased to see that the administration worked with them really well during the negotiating process for all the different standards in terms of the management and the other additional employees. I just would like to add though that when we're giving the lump sum of $1,750 and $500, I know this is a 3-year contract, but hopefully as time moves forward, we can look at just in terms of percentage, because the lump sums I did hear from some employees is that it's and I told them I don't get into negotiation, but the non-compounding, obviously, we're part of the union as well when my husband worked for the city of Albuquerque. So, the non-compounding affects employees, long-term. So just wanted to kind of mention that as well. So, but thank you guys. I think you did a great job on this. So with that, Ms. Salas, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Feeblecorn,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Malley,
Yes.
Chair Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscotti,
Yes.
Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are now on to other business. That was pretty quick. So we have OB 2215, the drought update, Mr. Bustos.
Madam Chair, members of the board, unfortunately, Carlos is not with us today. He's traveling. So you got me. I'm Mark Kelly. I'm the Water Resources Division Manager. I hope that I will do Carlos some justice for the monthly drought update. Next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Well, he was out of town last time and we told him that that's what caused the rain. So if he's still out of town and it's still raining, it's a good thing.
Well, fingers crossed. As you can see, we've had a pretty high monsoon effect since our last board meeting in June, where in June we were in exceptional drought. And now we've moved into severe drought for all of Bernalillo County. And that change was due to some monsoon rains that we'll get into a little bit later. Our gallons per capita per day is holding steady at 127 gallons per person per day, but we're still at 113% of our proposed annual operating plan in terms of groundwater pumping. Next slide. This is showing how our temperatures have been lately, and from the start of the year. The normal temperature band is shown in brown. The high is the records are in red, and the record lows are in blue. In the first 7 months of this year, we've had 6 record heat days. And after, in the last month or so, we've dropped into more of our normal temperatures due to those monsoon rains. Next slide. This shows our accumulated precipitation, which is the green line compared to the brown line of normal, where we're almost up to a normal level of precipitation. But as you can see, we got that really recently in late June and July with really big monsoon rains. We got about an inch in July, and in 2 weeks in June, we got 2.5 inches for almost 5 inches in June. So it's looking like monsoon rains are stronger than we anticipated them to be this year, but we're still a little bit under, I guess, a normal amount of precipitation. Next slide. For the river flows, it was news that the Rio Grande went dry in late June. We had 4 days of no measurable flows at Central. The blue lines are our central flows, and in this year, and the green line represents the flows at Central last year. And then the red line on there is our threshold to use the water treatment plant. So we have had higher flows than that threshold, but they've come pretty recently. Looking forward to the seasonal outlook, it's showing that drought will remain, but will improve, as we've seen in the last few months, where things are getting a little better, but we are still predicted to be in drought and not have our drought status be removed. Next slide. So our actions during our drought watch stage that we're in are to continue with our 3 steps to landscape success classes, where customers can take online classes and get a $20 rebate. We're continuing to double our water waste fees, and we have extra personnel to do enforcement of water waste. We're increasing public outreach, focusing on xeriscaping. We are also reaching out to our top 5% of residential users as well. Next slide. So the xeriscape program has done really well this year. We're at about 575,000 square feet of turf removed, and that blows by where we were last year with 272,000 square feet. So I think the customers are taking advantage of the xeriscape rebates and using them, and we should be seeing decreased demand due to that. Next slide. We're also reaching out to our top 5% of residential users. So we send them a letter. We talk to them in the letter, that informing them, hey, we are in a drought, talking to them about how their average monthly usage is much higher than comparable residences in their in their neighborhood, in their zip code, and encourages them to schedule a free irrigation consultation that we provide to help see if there are leaks or also improve their irrigation practices. It's also a good way for us to talk to customers about all the rebate programs that we have that can help them save water. So far this year, we've done 225 of those consultations. Next slide. So we've had a really good effect from those letters and those consultations, where we found that after sending the letters, we've seen a 13% reduction on average in each house. Some of the other some zip codes have much higher than that, but on average, it's been about 13%, and it's led to this year saving about 221 million gallons. So I think it's real. It's been a really effective program, and it's taken staff that we have doing these consultations already, and just added a little bit more of sending out letters, where we've sent about 8,000 letters out. So very, very good. Good results for not too much work on our part to do that. And that's all I have for the drought update. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Madam Chair.
Kelly, Commissioner Quesada.
Yeah, Mr. Kelly, I have a couple. I've noticed that we're a swamp cooler kind of state. And I've really never seen like data on, the effects of us running our swamp coolers 24/7. I could see from the top of my roof, that I could see all the air conditioners, and when I'm out at night, they're running all night. And I get it because it's hot up here on the mesa. What's the water use on swamp coolers, and is there incentives for people to go to refrigerated air? I know that refrigerated air becomes expensive on the electricity side, so I don't know if it's really a great thing for low-income families, but I'd like to kind of see a comparison from one to the other, and what kind of rebates we could do to conserve water. I'm very, our speaker this evening talked about reducing to 15%, and according to your graph, we have already reduced 13%. So, I mean, we're already on track to that, and so I'm just kind of wondering what that is, what that looks like, and would that make a difference?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Quesada, the 13% is just for the folks that we sent those targeted letters to.
Oh, okay.
So that's not everyone. That's just the people that we're targeting with those letters. But in terms of swamp coolers, yes, swamp coolers do utilize water, through the evaporation process, and we don't have any currently have any rebates to incentivize switching from swamp coolers. But I think one of the things that we can try and get people to do and to incentivize is maintaining their swamp coolers and making sure that they're not leaking, because that is where we're going to be losing a lot more water than just using it for cooling is the people that, have you can see the streaks down their roof of where it's been leaking for a long time. So I think we need to focus on the leaking swamp coolers and maybe getting to the conversions at some later date.
Okay. I would just like to know how much water a day a swamp. I guess maybe that's probably what I'm looking at.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but we can get that for you
at another time. Yeah. And then, so where are we at on watering trees?
Trees are we're still in the water by the numbers 3 days a week for outdoor watering, and we are encouraging people to keep their trees maintained and to water their trees. But we also have a tree rebate that we call a tree bait that folks can use for any kind of tree health, tree maintenance, and they can get a rebate from us for that.
So what I learned from my neighbor about watering trees, and we've never had this discussion, and if public are listening, I used to go out there and just blast it with water and think that I watered the tree, and my trees weren't doing that well. And I was sticking to the water by the numbers plan, and I was having difficulty. So what I learned from a neighbor is that you want to water outside where the roots are, and you want to water slow. Uh, he said low and slow is what he said, and I said, well, see, us people on the west side, we drive our cars low and slow, so maybe we need to learn how to water low and slow, and so that way you actually get advantage of the water, and that you're not blasting and it's just running off and running down the street. So I know that you give classes, and maybe I should have taken the class. So what I'm publicly saying here, that if you're trying to grow trees, because we need desperately, because we're going to xeriscape the rest of it, we're going to need trees. So, I'm just encouraging people to learn, because, you think and then you find out you don't know nothing, like me. And so I just wanted to publicly say that I've learned a valuable lesson, and, low and slow and outside where the roots are. Because, me and Carlos always had discussions about, the watering and the watering process. And since he wasn't here, you had to fill in for him. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's great tips, Commissioner Casada, that and you can tell where the roots are usually are where the canopy of the tree is. So if you look at where the branches reach out to, that's where the canopy is, and we do get the best, most efficient watering at the edges there, it's not that great to water at the trunk.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Well, with that, I just wanted to ask I think I'm not real sure who gauges the water. Does the water, because I guess we gauge rainfall at the airport. Is that the only place that we gauge rainfall here in Albuquerque?
I think the airport is like the gold standard, but there are many other weather stations around town, Madam Chair.
Okay. Just because I know that just a couple weeks ago when it rained here on the west side, we literally had a flood, and the news reported that there was no rainfall today. So, and yet we were drowning over here on the west side. So I just thought that was interesting, and I don't know if it's something that we should do to have additional sites where they measure water, because it's kind of rainfall that doesn't get accounted for. So.
And Madam Chair, we do have a program where customers can get rebates to get what we call smart controllers, where their sprinklers will be adjusted to rainfall that is hyper local, and they can connect to weather stations that are not at the airport, that are in their neighborhood, that say if it's raining only on the west side, and you are on the west side with a smart controller, it will know, and it will cut back on your watering to do that. And we do have a rebate for that as well.
Oh, awesome. See, so you learn something new every day. Well, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Appreciate the update. With that, we'll move on to OB 22. Did someone else have a question?
Sorry, Madam Chair, this is Councilor Peoplecorn. I had a question. I just didn't see, I don't think you see my hand up for some reason.
Sorry, apologize for that. I didn't.
I don't think it's up, but it's up on my end. I'm sorry. So can I just jump in real quick? I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Casada's question. The new efficient evaporative coolers spend about 2.5 gallons an hour, and that is actually less than it costs to create energy for an HVAC unit. And so I would just encourage us to, if people are comfortable in their homes with evaporative cooling, that is by far the best environmental answer. However, with climate change and excessive days of 100+ temperature, evaporative coolers are not being as effective as they were for the rest of, for the whole 20 years I've lived here. They were great. The last 2 years, it's been terrible. There are incentives from P&M and through the Efficient Use of Energy Act that give people incentives not to go to HVAC units, not air cooled units, but to go to a heat pump, which is much, much more efficient in terms of energy use. And those are available through P&M. So I just wanted to offer that information.
Thank you, Councilor Peebles-Corn. Appreciate that. With that, we will move on to OB 2216, Southside Water Reclamation Plant Outfall Project. And this was with Diane Agnew and former Commissioner Maggie Hart-Stebbins.
We'll want to start with Maggie's slides, the beginning with the ONRT. And Maggie, I'm not sure if your audio is working.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I was waiting
Yeah.
for some
Great.
signal to begin. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the Water Utility Authority staff, my name is Maggie Hart-Stebbins, and I want to thank you for the invitation to be here with you tonight. It is, I have to say, being a member of the Water Utility Authority was really one of the highlights of my time as a county commissioner. So it's great to be back, even if I'm on this side of the virtual dais. I am here to talk to you about a potential, I think, a project that we are planning to do in partnership with the Water Utility Authority. And I think if it is okay with you, Madam Chair, what I usually do is start out by explaining a little bit about what the Office of the Natural Resources Trustee does, and then move to the specifics of the project, that the Southside Reuse Project. If that's okay with you. All right.
Perfect.
So again, my name is Maggie Hart-Stebbins. I am New Mexico's Natural Resources Trustee. And the Office of the Natural Resources Trustee was created because Congress and the New Mexico legislature recognized that natural resources are critical assets, valuable assets for states and the country as a whole. As members of the Water Authority Board, you are aware that water quality and availability is really essential to everything we do, and that applies statewide. New Mexico residents depend on natural resources for their livelihoods, health, recreation, culture, quality of life. Our tourism industry and recreational industries, outdoor recreation industries depend on, our natural resources, unspoiled landscapes, clean water, forests, and our other natural resources. But at the same time, I think we recognize that the extractive industries, manufacturing, and our national defense installations are important economic drivers in this state. So next slide, please. And I think, as we know, unfortunately, accidents do happen. Contaminants are released into New Mexico's environment. This photo is, I'm sure you'll recognize, a photograph of the Animas River following the Gold King mine spill that happened back in 2015. So my office has a very important role in responding when there is a release of a hazardous substance or oil. Next slide, please. So following a release, what happens next? Under both federal and state law, natural resource restoration is an essential component of our state's ability to hold polluters accountable. When toxic substances have polluted our natural resources, and when I talk about resources, we talk about groundwater, surface water, drinking water, wildlife, fish, biota, which is the ecosystem of a particular area, aquatic or terrestrial habitat, soil or air. Our laws require, first of all, a complete and timely cleanup to protect public health. And that is, and then secondly, the laws require the natural resources to be restored to the way they were pre-contamination. And that includes compensation for lost natural resources and the services they provide. And that can include cultural services that are provided by our natural resources. Next slide, please. So when there's a release of contamination into the environment, two agencies respond. The New Mexico Environment Department responds. They are responsible for remediation, and that is the cleanup to protect public health. And the Office of the Natural Resource Trustee is responsible for restoration. So once the cleanup is completed or concurrent with the cleanup, we are responsible for returning natural resources to the pre-contamination condition. And when that's not possible, replacing or acquiring equivalent resources and ensuring that communities that have been affected by these releases are compensated for the loss of natural resources and the loss of use in the services they provide. Next slide, please. So following the release of some contaminant or oil into the environment, ONRT follows a process that has been laid out by federal law under the Superfund Act, also known as CERCLA, and the Oil Pollution Act. So we work with the Environment Department and the EPA to assess and measure the injury to natural resources. Then the next step, and we identify who's responsible. The next step is to work with the responsible party to determine what the appropriate, how much money it will take to fix the problem, to restore the resources. We ask the responsible party for compensation that will allow us to do that. The next step, so once we reach a settlement, or in the rare instance where we have to go to court to sue for that compensation, we then work with communities that have been affected to ask, like, what types of projects do you think are best suited for restoring the injured resource or compensating your community for the losses that you've sustained. So we develop a restoration plan and then use the money to contract with either local governments or private entities to restore the natural resources. Next slide. So since ONRT was created by the legislature in 2000, it has recovered more than $43 million for the state of New Mexico. There is a list here that shows all of the different settlements that have happened during that time. If you look at the first three bullets, the Gold King mine spill, Fort Wingate Army Depot, and the Frank oil cases, just since the beginning of 2020, ONRT has recovered over $12.6 million for the state. And then I have sort of highlighted in these red circles two settlements that are the reason why I'm here tonight. So next slide, please. This is a quick slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but this shows our the many diverse partners that we work with and project locations. So these are both cases where we have reached settlements and also where we are in the process of doing an investigation that we hope will lead to a settlement. And you see the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Authority is there. Next slide, please. This slide very quickly identifies some of the natural resource restoration projects that we have underway. We are working with the village of Cuesta with some funding that was received through a settlement with the Chevron Molycorp mine outside of Cuesta. So we've got $3.5 million left of that money. We are investing in a drinking water well that will benefit the village of Cuesta. We are working on an extension or paying for the extension of their sewer infrastructure to protect groundwater. And we have funded a aquatic habitat restoration project on the Red River through the village of Cuesta. we are working with the town of Silver City. And then on the right-hand side of the slide are 4 projects that we are funding with the $1 million that we received from the mining defendants in the Gold King mine case. So we reached that settlement in 2021. ONRT, it was an $11 million settlement to the state of New Mexico. 1 million came to the Office of the Natural Resources Trustee. So we have worked with the community to identify projects that the people who live there want us to fund. Next slide, please. And very quickly, so I have talked about settlements that have already been reached. This slide shows cases that where we are currently doing an investigation, where we have the current cases, we have already notified the responsible parties that we will bring a natural resource claim. And then the second set of bullets are potential new cases. So you're probably familiar with the PFAS issue that is a problem nationwide. We anticipate that there will be a natural resource damage claim that we will have to pursue there. The Grants Mining District, where the uranium mining has been taking place over the last several decades, we anticipate we'll have additional cases there. And again, PFAS at other military installations around the state. So our work is pretty much spread statewide. Next slide, please. And this slide gives you an idea of what our cases look like, what the complexity is in these natural resource injury cases that we pursue. So, you know, the work at Los Alamos over the last, 7 decades have resulted in contamination of groundwater, soil, surface, and the contaminants are radiological substances, heavy metals, organic compounds. You know, if you just look at that slide, there's kind of every contaminant, hazardous substance that has been identified by the EPA, all at this one site. We work with a number of co-trustees, the pueblos that surround Los Alamos. We have federal partners, the U.S. Forest Service, and actually the Department of Energy is a co-trustee with us. They are also the responsible party. So we have a working relationship to try to bring this case to conclusion. Okay, next step. Sorry, next slide. Okay, and finally, the reason I'm here. Back in the early 2000s, ONRT, or the Office of the Natural Resources Trustee, reached 2 natural resource settlements at 2 Superfund sites in the South Valley. One was the ATSF site. The other was the South Valley Superfund site. These cases settled in the mid-2000s. ONRT worked with affected communities in the South Valley and identified projects to be funded. Those went into a restoration plan. So all of those projects that had been identified in the mid-2000s have been implemented and completed. And there is funding left over for groundwater restoration activities. So when I joined this office in late 2019, that was one of the things I identified, that there was this money sitting in the ONRT bank account, and I began to reach out to potential partners to see what water quality projects existed in the South Valley. One aspect when we receive settlement monies, both federal and state law say that the money can only be used for restoration. The legislature can't reappropriate it. We can't spend it on salaries. It has to be used for restoration. So I reached out to as many potential partners as I could identify, and the Water Utility Authority really presented the best option for a partnership. So this is where I turn it over to Diane.
Thank you, Maggie. So I'm going to go into more detail on what the project is. I have to say this is an exciting project for me for many reasons. One of them is getting to continue to work with Maggie and the Office of Natural Resources Trustee, but also this project has that sweet spot of it's going to be done in in a short enough time frame where we all can be out there for a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we can give you all a tour within the next 2 years. And it's also tangible. So many of our projects are really critically important, but they take place underground. And so this is something that we all can enjoy and has quite a bit of benefit to the community and the species. Next slide. Just as some background, our treated effluent from our south side water reclamation plant, our wastewater treatment plant, is discharged into the Rio Grande. And this water is treated, it's sampled, it's monitored, and it's permitted. And then also the Rio Grande, as we all know, is a heavily managed river system. In the 60s, quite a bit of infrastructure was built, including jetty jacks, which are what they sound like, giant jumping jacks made out of iron. And as a result of that management infrastructure and these jetty jacks in particular, there's been quite a bit of sediment accumulation along the Rio Grande. And if you stand out here at our effluent, you can kind of see it in this photo. You're always looking down into the river. So there's a pretty sharp embankment, and then several feet, you can see the river water even during spring high flows. So there is not a floodplain environment in this stretch of the river any longer. So there is a need for restoration. We need to connect the floodplain. That floodplain is critical for all the Middle Rio Grande species, in particular the Rio Grande silvery minnow. And we also need to improve the water quality in the rivers. The Rio Grande tends to be very high in sediment load. And so there's a need to do a project to improve the water quality generally in the river to enhance the quality of life, but also help species propagation and downstream users of the water. Next slide. So through working with ONRT, we developed 3 primary objectives for this project. First and foremost is improving water quality in the Rio Grande. Secondary to that is improving habitat for endangered species. Our focus on the species front is the Rio Grande silvery minnow here in the top right corner. That's a minnow that we talk about quite a bit as it is endangered, and it is very much reliant on floodplain habitats for population recovery. But we also are going to be having a positive benefit on this cute little New Mexico meadow jumping mouse here in the lower left corner. And then also we want to increase public access to the bosque around the outfall. This is a community that doesn't have as much access to the bosque. We have trail systems that are fairly broken up in the area. This project has the objective of connecting those trail systems and making it more accessible to the South Valley residents. Next slide. Here's a map of the project. This is south of Rio Bravo along the Rio Grande. So our actual treatment plant is on 2nd south of Rio Bravo, and this is just due west of the treatment plant. And the colors on here, the reddish orange, those are actually existing restoration areas. So the Army Corps was out here previously. They'd done some restoration work, and our project is in the blue, so you can see our project's actually going to connect into those existing restoration areas. So through this project, we'll be creating a continuous stretch of floodplain habitat that is much needed in this area. And then the yellow squiggly lines are the new trail systems that we'll be building to connect the existing trails in the area. Next slide. And here's a schematic of the concept of the project. So like I said, when you go out there right now, it's like you're standing on a cliff looking into the river. And that means that no matter what the flows are in the Rio Grande, this area won't see the flooding that needs to happen in the spring for bosque health, but also for the Rio Grande silvery minnow. So we're going to go out into this project area, and we're going to regrade the embankment on the Rio Grande. And so you can see in this graphic that now when we're done, we'll have a more gentle slope into the Rio Grande. This will be designed to flood under certain flow conditions. So we will identify what flow conditions are best for the Rio Grande silvery minnow and make sure that we construct it in a way where it floods under those flow conditions. There's another component of this is that we know that the minnow needs floodplain to spawn, but we also know the minnow needs a floodplain to grow old enough so it can go out into the river and propagate. So we will be designing to be able to meet both of those needs for the minnow. You'll also see on here that we have the root wad revetments. This is a rehabilitation technology that's been used in other river systems, and it's literally dead trees that will be placed into the embankment of the river. And these things do a couple things for us. One of them is it creates bank stabilization, which means that this will be less prone to erosion over time. But then it also creates really great habitat for fish. So any of the fish species in the Rio Grande can use these root wad revetments as a place for shelter, for spawning, for eggs and nursery. So it has a very positive benefit. And then you can see on here the color coding. So the bluish color on here is our wastewater effluent. We know based on the monitoring that we do in the river every spring that fish really like our effluent. There's some combination, I think, of the temperature of the water and the fact that this water comes out very clean. It has virtually no sedimentation in it. That we are building this project to take advantage of that water. So you'll see that in this graphic, that effluent is moving downstream, but it's also moving into the floodplain habitat, so that we'll be mixing our clean effluent in with the more sediment-laden Rio Grande natural flows and creating an improved water quality, which is improved habitat and improved overall water quality in the river. Next slide. This project really is a collaborative project. We couldn't do it without our partners. The Office of the Natural Resources Trustee is a critical partner, and we've been working with them from the very beginning. But also this requires us to work very closely with our partner agencies like Proclamation and MRGCD, as well as working with the Fish and Wildlife Service and ISC and the Albuquerque Open Space. So we've been doing quite a bit of outreach with all of these agencies, coordinating with them for site access. For example, Fish and Wildlife Service, they've been really great. We've been meeting with them. They actually were the ones that were identified that we were focused on the fish, but this project will create the most continuous habitat for the New Mexico meadow jumping mouse in the middle Rio Grande, something that they're really excited about because they think that continuous habitat could actually do quite a bit for population recovery. And then the ISC is doing restoration projects in the middle Rio Grande, so we're coordinating with them so that we actually can make a cohesive restoration of habitat in the middle Rio Grande, benefiting community, species, and the quality of the Rio Grande River, or the Rio Grande. Next slide. So our current status is that we're in project design. We just kicked off project design in July of this year. And that means we're also initiating permitting. So we have to go through NEPA, we have to do Endangered Species Act consultations, but we also are completing our funding needs. The ONRT funding, as Maggie said, is $550,000 that we will be applying to construction. That left us with the need to get additional funding to cover permitting and project design, which we've been able to do through capital outlay funding. Thanks to many of our state legislators, we've completely covered that task. So that we have roughly 3.1 million that we need to complete project construction to the full project build out. And we just submitted on Monday of this week an application for the River Stewardship Program grant. That's a program through NMED. They received $10 million in appropriations from the bipartisan infrastructure law. So that's a great opportunity for us that we're excited about. We'll be also pursuing Water Trust Board funding and have continued our efforts with the state legislators. So we're close to being able to fully build out this project. One thing that is really great is that this can be done in phases. So we're going full speed ahead with project design. We'll make as much progress as we can with construction, and hope we're also working pretty, I don't want to say aggressively, but pretty assertively to make sure we get the full funding in place so that we can all get out there and enjoy it. And like I said, ongoing public outreach. We've been reaching out to the Pueblo of Isleta, and anyone who wants to take a tour, we're very happy to give a tour, or at least I am. I like going to this site and showing the project area and talking about what this is going to do for the Middle Rio Grande. And we are aiming to have construction begin in late 2023. Next slide. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Miss Agnew, and thank you, Ms. Stebbins, for the presentations. We really appreciate it. I don't know if there are any questions.
Madam President or Chair, I should say.
Yes, Commissioner
President or
O'Malley.
the Chair,
Whatever.
the leader, the boss. Well, I'm really glad to hear that there's an effort to improve the quality of water in the river. I mean, it's polluted, it's been polluted. I don't know how you do that when there's so many different discharges, like Rio Rancho discharges their affluent into the river. I mean, once in a while you see a dead cow floating by and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but I'll tell you what, before the freeway was built and all this industry and all this pollution came about, we used to have a lot of wildlife in the river. It would come through the acequias, and I'm an irrigator and you run the acequia and it looks pretty dead to me. Maybe there's something in there. I'm not sure. But at one time I saw a snake. But in the old days, there used to be tadpoles and and all the turtles that came in. And it was really wonderful, to have this, little piece of the natural world come into the urban center, which is why many of us are so committed to making sure the acequias remain and that we preserve that and make sure that that happens for future generations. So I'm glad to see that, though it seems like a very, very tough thing to do. And I was just reminded of all of the pollution that's occurred groundwater over the years, how it's affected communities of color in particular. Sawmill was one of them. We worked very hard to clean up the groundwater there. It took a lot of resources. And now, of course, it's a redeveloped area. But yeah, I was just remembering all of that and the hard work that has been done by communities to clean up their efforts. They're the ones that have brought attention to it and worked hard to get resources to it. San Jose was another one that worked really hard. That was a serious, what was that called? It was one of those serious areas, a Superfund site, as a result of all the oils that were spilled and everything else. And quite frankly, before we started to clean up the groundwater in Sawmill, some people had died because of liver damage and things like that. So I think this is good work, and as much as you can engage communities and their efforts to help their own communities, right, and get the work done. That's great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Malley. I seen your hand raised, Councilor Peoplecorn, but it's not raised anymore. Did you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Sorry for my technical problems tonight.
That's okay.
I just wanted to say, I really love this project. I'm very thankful that we're really considering how to support endangered species recovery. I just had a question, and it's really a basic question, but we talked earlier about river flows being extremely low. Do we have enough river flow to actually flood this area and keep this area flooded long enough for silvery minnow to grow in that area? I want to make sure we've thought through these new conditions that we're in.
Madam Chair, Councilor Peoplecorn, yes, that is actually a key part of our analysis. One of the things that's been and that's plagued restoration sites in the Middle Rio Grande is they've all gone with this 1,500 cubic feet per second flood flow, which means that the river has to exceed 1,500 CFS for a month or more in order for it to benefit the species. And we just don't see those flows in this reach of the river that consistently. So we participate in the Middle Rio Grande Endangered Species Collaborative Program, very concise name. And as part of that, we've learned quite a bit about the species. And one of the things we've learned is not only do they need the extra time in the floodplain to do the nursery part of their growth pattern, but they that we know that we need to change how we've been designing these sites, and we know what kind of flows we've been seeing on average, and so all that's going to be accounted for in the project design. I don't have that number because we're going to model it, and we're going to take all the data from the Middle Rio Grande agencies that monitor for the Rio Grande silvery minnow to inform our design. And the other thing that we know from the studying of the fish is we know that they spawn in April and they in May, and so all of the information that we have in hand indicates that we will get flows that we'll get spring flows that will be happening earlier, but we can account for that in this design as well. So we'll be targeting a flow that we know or fairly confident we can hit with the projected surface water conditions, and to be able to maintain a flooded habitat, an inundated habitat for sufficient time to support the species. And that's really thanks to this partnership with the Middle Rio Grande Collaborative Program. And then, I mean, we were working directly with the Fish and Wildlife Service. They have an expert on the Rio Grande silvery minnow to make sure we hit it.
That's great.
Thank you, Ms.
Madam
Agnew.
Chair.
And thank you, Councilor Feeblecorn. And I seen Trustee Benavides with his hand up.
Yeah, I think I may have had a similar question in regards to the trade-off between increasing our floodplain and what does that mean for the water that makes it into our aquifer versus how much flows downstream. And now I recognize that this is just a small section of the river and it's probably not likely to make much difference. But is that something that's being considered?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Benavides. So
Yeah.
we don't, we know that there's a net benefit that when the floodplains work as they would without a heavily engineered river, that there is a benefit to groundwater. And there's actually even a benefit to groundwater quality when those systems are connected. This project doesn't have a goal and objective to change the groundwater quantity or that connectivity, though it is expected that as we improve water quality for surface water, that we'll see that we know inherently when this floodplain is operating properly, that groundwater will benefit.
All right, thank you.
That answer your question? Okay, thank you. Are there any additional questions? Commissioner Quesada, it looked like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I just reiterate the thankfulness for the project, and definitely something that will benefit us here in Bernalillo County, and we're extremely grateful for the work. We know it's not easy. And I know it's going to be part of the design in order for it to be successful. So, that's why it's expensive and time consuming to make sure that the design is, applicable. And so I'm just grateful, and it looked really good. What a great presentation. And, we're really excited to see that moving forward. And if you need us to advocate for you next session, it would be my pleasure to do that, because I would like to see this to be the first of many to come as we look up and down the Middle Rio Grande. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would agree with your comments in terms of, whatever we can do, right? And I really want to say that I appreciate Commissioner O'Malley's comments, just, as a person of color and part of the, families of original settlers that were here, in the Native American community that were here, that that predates all of us, is that one of the things that we always learned growing up is that we reused, we talk about sometimes as a community how now, people talk about fresh vegetables and they talk about recycling, and communities of colors were forced to do those things. I mean, those are how we were raised. We recycled everything, we reused everything, and knowing that as time has gone on, as Commissioner O'Malley has stated, with industry coming in and seeing how it's impacted the Rio Grande, and all those same memories that she has as a child with the tadpoles and all the, it's the same memories that we had growing up. And I'm just really happy to see that we're putting an emphasis, especially in the South Valley that's been most impacted. Obviously, that's a Superfund site. So I appreciate the work. I look forward to seeing more like that. And thank you all for being here this evening. And with that, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Have a good evening.